What's going on, y'all? It's your host, Will, coming back for a new episode of Field Note Fridays, brought to you by Bowtech. Refuse to follow. We're going to be breaking these next 2 weeks up into another two-part series, and we're going to be bringing on none other than Mark Melotik. Now, Mark is our executive editor, and he just recently wrapped up our 2022 compound bow test and review, as well as broadhead tests and reviews. Now, Mark put all these flagship bows and broadheads through the ringer, tons of tests, and he's going to bring a lot of information because it's the time of year that some of y'all are looking at new bows. You've kind of been thinking about it for a little while. You may have gotten a new bow already, and now you're looking at broadheads. You're trying to figure out what broadhead you want to use for whitetail, mule deer, elk, whatever game you're going to be chasing. Mark put all these products through the ringer, a bunch of different tests, shooting through plywood, checking to see how fast some of these bows are shooting, and a bunch of other tests. And so we're going to get Mark on here to talk about that and hopefully help make your decision just a little bit easier this fall when it comes to either buying a new bow or selecting that broadhead to go put down some big game or deer with. So I'm going to quit rambling. And again, y'all, we just want to thank y'all for tuning into the HuntStand podcast. The support we've gotten from y'all, it's been awesome. We really appreciate it. And I just want to say, y'all, if y'all got any questions or things you want to hear us talk about or things you want us to answer, hit me up. Send me an email, podcast@huntstand.com. A lot of times your comments get lost in social and YouTube. That world is crazy. The wormhole sucks them down and I never see them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So send me an email. I will definitely see it then. And if you haven't yet, make sure you've got the HuntStand app downloaded on your phone. We got the free version, and if you enjoy it so much, make sure you download the pro version because it's got all the features and tools to help you be successful in the field. I'm gonna quit rambling. Here's our man Mark, and hope y'all enjoy this episode of Field Note Fridays, brought to you by Bowtech. All right, man, you ready to get this thing rolling?
Let's roll it.
All right, Mark, first and foremost, welcome back to the HuntStand podcast. Appreciate you taking the time to talk bows and broadheads with me this morning.
Thanks for having me, Will. Two of my favorite subjects, so that I'm ready, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I think you and I kind of come from the same background, just love archery and everything stick and string. And so, man, you just wrapped up the 2022 compound bow field tests and 2022 broadhead field tests. And so I'm going to make this a two-part series for Field Note Fridays. And so I want to kick this thing off with the bow test. You know, let's talk about what bows did you have included in this test?
Absolutely. So 6 bow tests this year. We had the Bear Refine EKO. We had the Elite Envision, the PSC Evo XF30, the Matthews V3X33, the Prime Inline 3, and the Bowtech SR350. Those were the 6.
Man, those are all solid bows. I mean, great bows, great bow companies. And so kind of walk us through your criteria and what tests these bows went through.
Absolutely. So, it's actually a whole lot of different tests. Let's see. Let's start with speed. We use a shooting machine and a chronograph to check speed. Everybody wants to know speeds, top speeds with their favorite bows. We also test for mass weight with help from a digital scale, and silence with help from a decibel meter. But we also consider things like fit and finish, ergonomics of the bow, the in the field maneuverability, the let off. The draw cycle is really important. And, of course, price point. All that stuff can be important when you're choosing a new hunting bow. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the tests, what poundage and draw length were you shooting these bows at? Because I think a lot of guys are probably going to ask that out there. They're probably looking at, okay, like what poundage were you pulling, draw length, like what were you at?
Well, obviously for the speed test, we try to make that 70-pound bow. We get the bows exactly at 70 pounds and 30 inches draw, which is kind of standard for the industry when you're talking about speed. But when I'm shooting them in the field, I back it down just a little bit. I'm like a true 28-inch draw, so by the time you put a string loop on there, I set the bow at 27.5 inches with the string loop and 65 pounds. We get to the point where, I'm always shooting 70-pound bows, but, we do so much shooting in these tests that I had to back it down a little bit. So 65 seems to be a good compromise.
Okay. And so in this test, you had 3 different awards. You had Best Value Award, Editor's Choice, Silver Award. And so kind of walk us through your decision process for each of those and which bows got each award and why.
Okay, well, let's start with the Best Value Award. So, that's kind of self-explanatory, but it's, we're looking for the ultimate bang for your buck. What is the bow that'll give you the ultimate bang for your buck? And it considers both features and performance when you're talking about that bow. And the Editor's Choice, I think everybody knows what the Editor's Choice means. That's our top bow. That's our overall winner. That's the bow that we would pick from the lineup. If we could have just one bow, that's the one that we would pick. So that's our overall winner. And then, again, the Silver Award winner is kind of also self-explanatory. It's a second place to the Editor's Choice.
Gotcha.
That's that bow that was probably right up there throughout that process. One that we considered for the Editor's Choice, but just second place, honorable mention or second place.
Okay. So kind of walk us through, man. Like walk us through who won each award and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, let's start with the Best Value, and that was won by the Bowtech SR350. And again, when you think Best Value, you're probably thinking price, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that pops into most people's mind. But this award is not. It's not so much about the bow's MSRP because, if you're gonna actually look at the numbers here, the Bowtech SR350 actually tied with the Matthews V3X33 for the most expensive bow in the test at about $12.99. But it's really more about the SR350's extreme bang for the buck. And, it's got a lot of features that a lot of bows don't have that are just crazy cool. And, it makes this bow kind of perform like 2 or 3 different bows all at once. So again, that's where we get that value, that extreme value, lots different features that are very cool. And, when I talk about features, let's talk about the deadlock cam system, which is, that's been a staple for Bowtech's high-end bows for a few years now. And it that kind of replaces, the old yoke system that allowed you to make those final accuracy enhancing tuning tweaks, right? So we're talking about getting those fixed blade broadheads to fly true, and maybe getting rid of those sometimes, mysterious left and right tears when you're paper tuning. Previously you're tweaking the bow's yoke system, but now with that deadlock system that's mounted on both the top and bottom limb tips, you can make those adjustments simply, quickly, and easily. And you can even do it without a bow press, which is really crazy. You basically, just need an Allen wrench. It's fast and easy.
Dude, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And once you're all dialed in, everything locks down to ensure that your settings and, that ultimate accuracy that you've been looking for, it's not going to change. So very similar kind of to Elite set technology. But again, those two bow companies have really got it dialed in with fast and easy, dependable tuning. It's crazy and, a great feature that more bows should have, I think.
Man, and I really couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you sent me this bow because I'm going to be hunting with it this year, and it's kind of funny we're having this conversation about it now because I actually just got this bow set up and paper tuned last night, and I mean, I center shotted the bow. I had everything squared, lined up perfect, and I kid you not, first shot, perfect bullet hole, paper tune. I mean, I'm shooting a 300 spine arrow, 490 weight, 29 inch, 70 pounds. And I was very impressed because I haven't shot a Bowtech for years. I mean, I haven't shot a Bowtech since the old Realm and SR6 days. And so, man, just having that capability, like you said, with that deadlock, just being able to move that cam pretty much across the axle for paper tuning. I mean, it's just so simple because, you know, most bow companies, you have to go and put it in a press and you have to twist, or, you know, like Matthews, you've got the top hat system. So, I mean, it's just easy, and I loved it. It made my life simple last night.
No, I mean, that's awesome. And yeah, was happy to send that out to you. That was really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy efficient, crazy easy and fast to get those kinds of tuning tweaks done. Again, that's kind of groundbreaking stuff. So
yeah,
kudos to Bowtech for that. And then, you know, when you're talking what else made us think that this was the best value winner, you got to talk about the SR350's flip disc technology.
Yes.
Yeah, that really makes this bow two bows in one. It really does. You get your flip discs, which are attached to the cam system,
mm-hmm.
and one side is comfort mode, and the other side's performance mode. And they, you know, again, self-explanatory. Usually when we get a Bowtech bow in for testing, it'll come shipped in comfort mode. And that's the way we shot the SR350 through most of this test. It's a smooth, easy draw. That was among the smoothest and easiest in the test, for sure. But, you know, you got that performance mode capability. So for our speed test, we flip that disc over, and that's all you have to do is flip it over, reattach it, and you've got performance mode. What you got to understand with performance mode is when you're going that route, it's a completely different draw cycle, and there's no other way to say that. It's quite a bit more harsh to draw that performance mode cam.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it, it works as promised, right? It does what it says it will do. So rigged in performance mode, the SR350, it easily won our speed test. Just easily, a full 4 feet per second faster than the second place speed finisher, which was the PSE Evo XF30.
Now, what arrow were you shooting to get that?
We were using a Easton full metal jacket 5mm arrow.
Okay, yep. So yeah, it's pretty standard in the whitetail world. So yeah, I like that.
It is. It's a fairly heavyweight arrow. We love this arrow. Again, nice and silent on the bows. A little bit heavier weight than typically, but just what a great arrow. We've used that a couple years now in our testing, and have really been impressed with it.
Sweet. Well, man, I like that. So definitely a great best value. I mean, best bang for your buck. I mean, the Bowtech just, I mean, it checks all the boxes on that. So what I want to go to next is the silver award. You know, tell us, you know, I'm sure it was probably hard for you. I mean, there may have been an outlier. I could be mistaken when saying this, but I mean, kind of, you know, tell us what made you decide on the silver award, and then we'll dive into the overall winner in a little bit.
Yeah, so this was a tight battle this year. You know, the upper echelon bows here, I think, were just a step above from the rest of the group. Mm-hmm. And the silver award winner was no exception. It was the Matthews V3X33 that took home our silver award.
Okay.
And that, you know, and we'll talk about our Editor's Choice winner, but this was, you know, it made a strong move for Editor's Choice right through this test. And, you know, of course, what I liked about the V3X is, and I think I talk about this in the video, is it was one of the first of the 2022 test bows to arrive. And that was late last fall.
Yeah.
So, hey, I was like, you know, why not take it into the field? I've got it, set it up really quickly. Just before a Kansas whitetail hunt, and that was only about a week later. Got that thing shooting darts, and sure enough, second day on stand, I took a nice Kansas whitetail with that bow, and I was really impressed with that.
Heck yeah.
And then again, waiting for this test, our testing to kind of continue, I drew I got a tag for Minnesota spring turkey season. And I figured, hey, got this bow set up. Let's take the V3X to that. And first day in the ground blind, I was able to take a beautiful Minnesota gobbler with the V3X again. So 2 animals down with that before the test even started. So how cool was that?
Heck yeah, you got some real world field testing with it there, man.
I really did. It really did, and it just it seemed meant to be, you know. So, you know, you have to temper stuff like that, Will, as you well know. I mean, you know, his bow showed up well before the test, and you know, you got to temper those findings. Obviously, I'd been shooting that bow for some time before the test even started, and that's kind of typical of you know of some kind of some of these bows on some years.
Yeah.
But again, you got to temper that with just how the others are performing too, and how fast things come together. But yeah, you know, again, the V3X 33. While shooting this thing during the test, I mean, I just knew it was going to do great in our sound test, our decibel test, because it was so quiet, so shock free, and that proved to be the case. I mean, we actually tested it, and it was the quietest. So that was another, you know, check mark in the V3X's side of things. Just a great hold too. I mean, you know, it was one of I think 4 bows that we had at 33 inches axle to axle.
Yep.
The string angles on that one, I mean, they're, as you know, the Matthews bows lately have got those really super long risers. So when you get back those string angles and those little bit longer bows, it's so steady a hold. It's just incredible. Couple that with you know, the lack of vibration, and you can hold on target for so long and so comfortably. It's no surprise that it was one of the most accurate bows in the test. So
heck yeah.
Very impressed with the V3X 33 all the way around. Just a great bow, and again, our silver award winner, but one that really yeah, it was right in the mix for editor's choice right up until the end.
So that's where I wanted to go next. So I mean, tell us about why it got. I mean, obviously you're going to dive into the prime and dive into you know, the editor's choice. So kind of tell us, man. I mean, what at the end of the day made your editor's choice bow the editor's choice bow?
Well, again, you know, these things are so tight, and you know, the differences are so small, right? But yeah, just very impressed with the Prime, and we're talking about the Prime Inline 3 winning our Editor's Choice Award. I don't know if it was a little bit of a surprise, but, you know, not after I shot this bow. Again, much like my experience with the V3X33, I mean, you set this bow up, and all of a sudden you're shooting bullet holes. You're shooting, you know, you're confident at all distances. You're very super accurate. But what really stood out for me with the Prime, when you get this thing back, it just, you know, goes through the valley, just drops in, and you got that nice super hard wall. So comfortable that allowed me to concentrate on target, top accuracy. It was just, it was really crazy how accurate that bow was at all distances, up in a tree stand, on level ground. You know, every year I have that bow where, you know, we change distances a little bit farther or a different angle in the tree stand, and you know, you have that bow that you're like, man, I know I'm going to just hit a 10 ring with this thing, and sure enough, that's just how it happens. So, you know, the consistent accuracy, and this is also, you know, a 33-inch bow, right, axle to axle. But you know, compared to maybe the Matthews, which had such a long riser, the riser on the Prime is quite a bit shorter, and the maneuverability, it seemed like a shorter bow.
Okay.
Which seemed to, in my mind, you know, highlight a little bit more maneuverability.
Okay.
In and around, you know, walking through the woods, up in the tree stand, in the ground blind, that kind of thing. I'm still amazed that they're 2 33-inch bows, because they just seem so different. But you know,
Well, and Prime really changed things up this year. I mean, they went from having, their old traditional. I mean, they had dual cam on top and bottom. I mean, you had I think there was 11 different strings with their older bows, their predecessors to this. But they really talk about how they really changed that up this year.
Yeah, going to a new cam system, I mean, you're going to see a lot of these bow companies, boy, once they find a winning cam system, they like to use it for a while, it seems like. And that's kind of right on down the line, because developing new cams is not an easy deal.
No, not at all.
One that really gives you advantages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a big deal when you switch cam systems, but Prime nailed it. They nailed it with the inline cam, and again, we saw that time and time again. So kudos to them. Yeah. Kudos to those engineers, and we know that Prime's got great engineers.
Absolutely. So, man, kind of for the listeners out there, they hear that you're talking about these awards, the bows, but at the end of the day, and this just as well as I do, is when you're going in to purchase a new bow, these are all great things to keep in mind looking at these bows and the awards that they received from our test. We kind of talk to our listeners about how important it is to make sure that you just don't go in there with a narrow mindset of shooting one bow and walking out with that certain bow. Talk to us about that.
Well, that's absolutely a great point, because when we talk about bow testing, and I like to talk about, we use the facts here in all our testing. When it comes to broadheads, when it comes to bows, we use the facts. But the facts, when it comes to bows, it's still about how a bow fits the person. And I think you've worked in an archery pro shop, Will, and, and you know this to be true. Certain bows fit different people different ways, right?
Yep.
And that is just the way it's going to be. So, while I think, our testing is, super valid and helpful to many people, I mean, they're my experience, right? So a little bit subjective in the fact that I am talking about how these bows work when I'm shooting them, right? And it's great in that everybody can have a different experience, and they people like different things. They like a hard wall when they get that bow back. Some guys like that spongier wall back there, and you got to fit the bow to you. So I personally, I would look at as many bows as I could and shoot as many bows as I could when going into my archery pro shop, just to see which bow works for me best, right? And you'll know it, and that's the cool thing about going into an archery shop and shooting several different bows. You are going to see differences, no matter if you're talking about 2 or 3 award winners or other bows. You are going to see those differences as you shoot those bows, and you are going to gravitate toward 1 or 2 that are going to make that decision easier and smarter for you in the end.
Absolutely. Super important to go into those shops and try as many different bows as you can, because like you said, you might shoot it differently than somebody else, which more likely you will, because not everybody's the same.
Absolutely. Good points.
All right, so there you have it. Mark brought a lot of information on the bow portion for part 1 of this Field Note Friday series brought to you by Bowtech. Next week, we're going to be talking about broadheads. He's going to go in depth, talking about the different tests that he put them through, why the certain broadheads won certain awards, why some did, why some didn't. We're going to go into that more in depth, but just want to thank Mark for taking the time to hop on, talk about part 1, diving into bows, what all he went and did with these bows, why he selected what he did with these bows. And hopefully, if you haven't picked up a new bow yet, or you're in the market for one, this will help make your decision a little bit easier. And so again, y'all, just want to thank y'all for tuning in to the HuntStand podcast, and we'll see you next week on Field Note Fridays, powered by Bowtech.